concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? Happy Monday evening. Just a little preview from a video that'll be coming out on my channel in some time. A little freestyle for you. Oh, has this all been one pack? I mean, that song is like 4 minutes long. Kind of hard to believe that it's all just one pack. 4+ minutes. Oh, hello, tree. 4+ minutes of freestyle. That's something. Yeah, I wasn't even trying hard. I was just... I mean, I'm not trying to brag, you know, humble brag, but I was just like, screw it. Let's just get out and fiddle around and not try too hard. There's a time for that. There's a time for trying hard, and there's a time for just having fun. This was one of those times. Yep, 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 yep. Sometimes when you don't try too hard, something really good happens. Like this. Something good happens. Something good happens. Hello. Oh, yeah. Haha, those tree gaps aren't in Liftoff, are they? Not the exact same tree gaps. Yes, Gadoosh, you're absolutely right. Trying interrupts flow, but then again, if the only thing you ever do is flow, I think you don't get as good as you would if you... I mean, think about musicians. Musicians practice, they jam, and they try and get into a flow state and find creativity that they wouldn't have found any other way. But musicians also practice scales, and that creates a foundation. If you just hand a completely untrained person an instrument and say, make music, they won't, no matter how much they try to achieve a state of flow. Except and I can't play you any of this music because I'll get copyright strike. The only person who you can just hand an instrument to, and with no skill, you hand them the instrument and he makes beautiful music, is the one, the only John Benjamin. John Benjamin's album, Well, I Should Have. Now, you may know John Benjamin as the voice of Archer or the voice of Bob on Bob's Burgers. He's a very famous comedian and voice actor. And one day, John Benjamin hired a jazz backing band, a real jazz backing band, and said, show up at the studio. John Benjamin showed up and began to flail on the piano. And the result actually sounds a lot like jazz to my untrained ears. So I don't know if that's a comment on John Benjamin or jazz, but it is what it is. You got to practice. You got to get them fundamentals down. And only when you have strong fundamentals, then can you release yourself into a flow state where creativity and magic will happen. That's my opinion. A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Welcome to the live stream, you guys. It is Monday night, and we're going to do some Q&A. That's what I do on my live streams. And before we get into the Q&A, I like to do a little bit of news and products and a little bit to just let everybody trickle into the live stream. We mostly do the news on Sunday because not a lot happens between Sunday and Monday. But I have an idea. I've got news. Now, there should be another tag. No, that's news. What else is coming? We've got a couple things. Oh, my God. Well, one piece of news that has come in is that RC Model Reviews has reviewed the X Flip goggles. You may recall that these goggles are made by Top Sky. Well, it's assumed. Skadoosh has said he can confirm it, but I don't want to be accused of propagating misinformation. I believe that this company is Top Sky, the maker of the terrible Prime 1S goggles, and that they changed their company name, maybe in part because those goggles were so terrible. They wanted to escape. They've released these goggles X Flip, and it looks like, well, I mean, Stu reviewed them, and his review was generally positive. Take that for what you will. RC Model Reviews reviewed them, and I'm much more interested in what he had to say. I'm not going to watch a 20-minute review here on stream with you, although that would be a really great way to... let's just look at the comments. The fog in the lens. Oh, yeah. A fogged-up lens. It looks like they used 3D printed and then used acetone smoothing, which reacts with a acrylic lens. An acrylic lens, yikes. Yes. But Stu said they're OLED beasts. Wow. Let's see here. Hey, I want to be on this list. Ivan Langford, sub to me. Yeah. Every reviewer in the world got a set. I haven't got a set. I wonder why. I know why. You know, the fact that Bruce got a bad one is almost as unsurprising as the fact that Stu got a great one. Bruce is famous for getting the reviewer's curse. I will give them a fair shake when they come out in retail, especially a company that has a history of making not so great products. The fact that the reviewer might get a good one, I'm going to wait for retail, but okay, that happened. Let's see here. Allie Barrett wants me to tell you about FPV combat mode being added to Velocidrone. On Thursday, August 13th, we are holding an exhibition tournament to show off multiple different game modes and new maps that have been created in Velocidrone. 5 teams of 5 competing for $1,500. Winner takes all. The tournament will be streamed on MultiGP as part of the MultiGP Virtual International Open, which is happening this week, and also on the Velocidrone Racing League Facebook and Twitch. There's a new map where drone combat battles will be taking place. Very, very interesting. So download Velocidrone and check this out. Johnny J in the chat says Bruce bought his. I'm not gonna buy mine. I'm not gonna buy. I don't think I'll review them. I mean, I'm kind of still mad about the Prime 1S, but the Prime 1S was not only bad, it was obnoxiously bad, and there were just straight up lies. They just straight up lied about the resolution, saying that it was 640 by 480 resolution when it wasn't, and then saying like you combine the resolution of the two screens. It's two 320 by 240 screens, so that makes 640 by 480. It doesn't. It doesn't. That's not how resolution works. So, says Bruce's wouldn't change channels either. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say just because a company made a bad product once that they will never make a good product. It just doesn't seem like that company's going to make a good product. So, there you go. If you would like to submit... Oh, shoot, I should have put this up. If you would like to... Why is it not centered? Why does it change? It changes size and it's not centered. Last time it was too big. Now it's too small. If you would like to submit any news to be included in these segments, please email. Please do my work for me. Keeping up with news is hard. I want you to do my work for me. In fact, if anybody wants to review any products for me, that would be fine too. Email news@joshuabardwell.com with news items for this segment, which is now pretty much over. Any new products? Let's see. My new products announcement and giveaway video is a little late this month. Haha, like every month. It'll be coming out tomorrow, though, so no worries about that. That's big news. You're not going to want to miss that because I'm going to be giving away one of these fantastic new products that's come out this month. Yeah. No. It doesn't look good. I'm going to have to review the X Flip just to tell people not to buy it. Because otherwise, like people are sending it to me and going, hey, it looks good. It doesn't look good. It's not good. Let's get some questions out of the way. Let's do some questions. Here's what I got going on. In case you're wondering what the deal is, this is what my big control screen looks like. The big old 2.7K screen in front of me, holding all the information about the live stream. Here's the chat. Mr. WTFPV. Hero 7 Black or Session 5? Session 5 is cheaper and more durable, but Hero 7 Black will give you better picture. So that's a tough call. If you're super concerned about image quality, Hero 7 Black will do a better job. So, there was one more thing I wanted to say before I... There we go. You may have seen in that video that I made, in that video I showed... Where did it go? You may have seen in that video. Hello. I'll find it any minute now. Shish, Joshua. In that video, you see this stick overlay here? Everybody always wants to know, how do you do the stick overlay? And until recent, well, not everybody, but until recently, it was a real pain in the ass to do the stick overlay. You had to do black box view. You have to do black box. You can't have it in real time. Unless you have a Brain FPV Radix, then you kind of can. But for most people, you don't get this in real time. You don't see this in your goggles. You record black box logs, and then you generate the stick overlay from the black box logs. And until recently, that was a huge pain because the black box viewer, it didn't support batch exporting. You had to open each log one at a time, and you had to... Dagnabbit. You had to open each log one at a time, and you had to export, and then it took forever to export, and then you open the next one. It was a real pain. This guy right here, Bastian Sonderman, he created a black box sticks exporter. It is an app. I think it's a Python app, if that's interesting to you. I'm going to paste this link in the chat for you. If you are interested in putting a sticks overlay in your video, this is the easiest way to do it. It's super fast, it's super automatic, and it exports the video with transparency. So you don't need to key out the black background like you do if you use the black box viewer. Bastian has pretty much finished development on this. And he said, is there anything else you want? And I said, no, it's working real good. And then he said, well, will you show it to Eddie? Maybe somebody else could give me some ideas for what else I could do on this. So here's the project. If you make YouTube videos and you want stick overlay, go ahead and download this and check it out. And if there are any feature requests you'd like, I guess the easiest thing to do is to raise an issue. That's how it's usually done. Does not seem to be any issues right now. But just message him and tell him what you want, and he'll just do it. It's pretty cool. He did this totally. I mean, there were times when I was trying to find someone to pay to do this, because I just find it so tedious to do it the old way. And he just did it for free. I think I might have even offered to pay him, and he was like, nah, I'm good. So, good karma for Bastion. But anyway, there you go. News. There you go. Let's do some questions. I already got one question from the normal chat. If you would like to make sure... Do you see how much... Look how much text has gone by, and I've just been blah, 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 blah. And no, I have not been paying any attention to all of this. Blah, 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 blah. If you want to make sure that I see your question, hit that $ right down there. That's called a super chat. And you can throw a couple bucks and get your question pulled out into the super chats. And then I will almost 99% chance that I'll get it, but sadly not 100%. Sorry to everyone in the past whose super chat I've missed. And these fine people up here, this is my Discord server. And these fine people are my patrons. And as part of being patrons, they get to be on my Discord server. So there's a link down in the video description if you would like to be one of them. And let's take a question from a patron right now. Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. I wanted to do that. Starjumper says, can you touch on the updated handling of yaw runaway handling in Betaflight 4.2? Is it just me? I feel like I've had a much improved experience with it so far. I hit a branch 3 times in flight and never touched the ground. I can even hear the correction happen. Starjumper, that's funny that you say that. I have also noticed that it feels like my recovery from hitting stuff has been better. Let me show you guys a video. I showed this video actually on yesterday's live stream. I showed this on yesterday's live stream. It is the Carrera Talon. So I know exactly where the... Oh, gosh darn it. My keystrokes mess up my video. It's at 439. Look at this hit. Now this, I'm not trying to like brag on my piloting skills, but look how fast it recovered. Ready? Right here, not here. Ready? That's, it's funny that you mentioned that. I mean, I just figured I was getting lucky. But I know that Betaflight changed like over yaw spin to the moon detection, but I don't see... Maybe that affects this. I don't know the detail or whether it's actually better or whether we're just imagining it. But anybody in the chat want to let me know whether you think Betaflight 4.2 has much improvement from hitting branches and stuff. Whether it's just in our imagination or not. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to make an announcement in my announcements channel. Hold on. Forgot to do that in my Discord server. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. So there's one advantage to Betaflight 4.2. Hello, Carlos Hernandez from Texas. Everyone in the chat seems to agree that it's better. I don't know what they did. I mean, I read in the release notes that they had improved the yaw spin recovery. I didn't... I mean, I was like, okay, well, how often do you get a yaw spin? I mean, I can't remember the last time I actually, like, just went out of control, which is what I assumed yaw spin recovery was for. But this seems, if this is true, it seems to be making it better just recovering from smacks. And that's great. Let's see here. Yeah, everybody seems to agree. There you go. T. Simon in the Discord wants to know, I just got a flight controller and it has a flash chip for black box. You do not enable that using SD card in the black box tab, T. Simon. It's going to be data flash chip, I think is what they call it. You're just going to choose to log to that. Let's get some of these super chats out of the way before we get too far into the stream. We got a bunch of super chats stacking up. Best accessory lipo for charging 4S bats on the go, asks Cosmic Scenes. Thank you for $5 in the super chat, Cosmic Scenes. The best accessory battery for charging 4S bats on the go is to just buy more 4S bats. I would say field charging is a pain in the butt. You have to carry a giant battery to charge off of. You have to carry your charger. Either go big or go home. Charge off a generator. Charge off, like if you're at a park and there's like a picnic table and there's an electric outlet there and the electric outlet is powered up, use that. We do have people sometimes at Knoxville Fly Days. We live in the South. Lots of people have big pickup trucks, so just throw a generator in the back of the pickup truck. If you're driving a Honda Prius or a Tesla, you can charge off your Tesla. If you have a regular car, you could even charge off the car battery, although I do recommend that you leave the engine idling. Otherwise, you will very quickly run your car battery down. You think it's a big battery, but it's not. If you really are intent on field charging, then think about whether you should just buy more batteries and charge them at home. Because the math doesn't work out great. You do save money because you can spend like $100 on 4 flight packs, perhaps, maybe 5. Or you could spend $100 on a great big honkin' 6S that'll charge, let's say, 8 packs. So technically, your dollars per flight are lower, but like, how much did you really save? Well, some. But then you got to carry this giant honkin' battery. The answer to your actual question is just go look on like Hobby King or Ready Made or see one of those stores that sells a lot of great big airplane batteries and just try to find one that's on sale. Do dollars per watt hour. It's probably going to be a 5 or a 6S, but just do dollars per watt hour and find one that's different. It doesn't need to be a high C rating. It could be like a 30C because it's a giant battery. But I used to think a lot about field charging and carry packs with me and field charge. And it was just, you're pulling out your charger and you're pulling out your pack and you're charging and you're cycling them. And then you got a dead battery with you and you didn't even use it to fly. And at some point I was just like, screw it. I'm just buying more flight packs. That's it. And now when I go fly, I have 20 flight packs and I never run out and I never charge in the field. And I'm just like, done. Okay. Skadoosh disagrees. Well, if the great David Skadoosh disagrees, he's got to pay attention. He says, I can bring a 22,000 milliamp hour and 4 lipos and fly all weekend long, as opposed to bringing a shit ton of singles. Let's check the math on that, Mr. Skadoosh. Mr. Skadoosh, do you claim to this court that you can fly all weekend on 22,000 milliamp hours? Sir, is that your assertion? Yes, Your Honor. Or, sorry, Your Honor, the lawyer would be questioning. 22,000 milliamp hour. What voltage is that battery, Mr. Skadoosh? You have specified 22,000 milliamp hours, sir, but you have not specified whether it is a 4S, a 5S, or a 6S. Will you tell the court what voltage this hypothetical battery that lets you fly all weekend is? Mr. Skadoosh, the court will wait for your answer. 6S, is that so? 22,000 milliamp hours times 6S times 3.7 volts. That's a 488,400 watt hour battery. That's a lot of watt hours, actually. 3.7 volts, 6S, 22,000. That's 488 watt hours. Let me make sure I get this right. 22,000 milliamp hours. Okay, now let's start another calculator. So now let's say we've got 1,500 milliamp hour flight packs. 1,500, we fly in 6S. Let's assume that David Skadoosh is flying 6S like all real men, except for me. Times 6 times 3.7, 33,300 milliamp hours in a single pack. Oh, it's not going to be a 1,500 though. I'm sorry, my mistake. Back up. Let's say 1250 times 6 times 3.7. That's a 27,750 watt-hour pack. So we take his the number was right there, Joshua. Why did you type it again? 488,400 divided by 27,750. How many packs can Mr. Skadoosh charge? 17. That's actually a lot. Assuming no efficiency losses, he can recharge those packs 17 times. That's actually not bad. Let's see how much that pack cost him. What pack are you using? What pack are you using, Skadoosh? Let's see how much it costs. That's actually pretty... That math works out pretty well. That's a giant freaking pack, to be fair. Daniel Wilkie says the battery is $475. I see. So, I mean, he's right. Now, for $475, so he can... For $475, he can recharge, let's say, 16 times. There's a little bit of efficiency loss in charging. Let's say he can recharge 16 times. So $475, let's say we have $25 batteries, divided by $25, 19 batteries. I could have bought 19 $25 packs instead of buying that 6S that charges me. And here's the thing. What else is that 6S good for? It's good for nothing other than field charging those packs. So you could have, instead of recharging 16 times, Mr. Skadoosh, you could have bought 19 individual packs. Okay, he says he paid $50 for his. Okay, well then you're ahead. Oh, my point is this. Do the math. Did you follow all that math, guys? I know you love going on a live stream and watching somebody do math. Am I right? Yeah. If you can do the math, if you can get the pack cheap enough, it starts to make sense. If the pack is super expensive, then it doesn't make sense. Let's just play this out. Let's just play this out. Where's batteries? Batteries. Commercial industrial batteries. Let's look at these. Is this the right category? There we go. So there's a tattoo. That's a big, expensive tattoo. You don't want that one. Here's a Luminaire 5200 6S tattoo. Here we go. That's a 13,000 6S. So here's a Luminaire 22,000 6S for $379. Now that's not a bad... Is that an N2O or is that their budget line? No, that's not an N2O. So the math is starting to make a little more sense, but you need to be able to get in my opinion, for field charging to make sense, you need to be able to get a big honking battery at a decent price. And otherwise you may as well just get... Yeah, 661FPV says, okay, so 15 packs. You see? The math often does... If you're buying... Here's where it makes sense, though. If you're buying super expensive premium race packs, if you're paying $45 for a 1500 4S or a 1250 6S because you're just buying high-end packs, then it makes sense for you to buy a big field charging pack and just recharge those in the field, especially because you're going to crash those and destroy them, but you're never going to crash your field charging pack. So... Anyway, Turnigy high capacity. Anyway, well, enough about that. I think you see how the math works. You can divide the watt hours and see how many charges you would get and then check the money and see. So, Skadoosh points out it's a lithium iron phosphate that can discharge to 2.5 volts. So you're going to get more, so the watt hours is not the same. Anyway, enough said. Skadoosh, we will allow you to plead no contest on this one and leave the court with your dignity intact. Personally, I just buy more flight packs. Flight packs, you get decent flight packs for $20-25. Unless you're like a hardcore racer who just needs the absolute best, you get to pay $20-25 for a decent flight pack and just buy more. Enough about that. That's it. That's the first super chat. We're 25 minutes into the live stream. And I feel like I need a shower. Daniel Carroll, thanks for $5 in the super chat. What's the cheapest way to let my wife or kid spectate my DJI-equipped drone? Yes, it's new goggles, Daniel. That's the only answer. That's the only answer, man. Just get a second set of goggles. Welcome to the DJI world. Poor people need not apply. Sorry, man. That's just the answer. Coelho FPV, thank you for $10 in the super chat. What's the difference between rapid fire mode 1, 2, and legacy mode? Rapid fire mode 1 does sync reconstruction. Rapid fire mode 2 does frame combining, but not sync reconstruction. Rapid fire mode 1 does both frame combining and sync reconstruction. So in rapid fire mode 1, it looks at the signal from both of the antennas and it kind of puts that together into a single image. So you get a stable image. And there's sync pulse reconstruction, which basically means that the screen never rolls and never flickers. Rapid fire mode 2 drops sync pulse reconstruction. It still does frame combining, but you don't get the flickers anymore. I mean, you don't get sync reconstruction, so you can get flickers. And sometimes you'll get a rolling image. The reason that you would use rapid fire mode 2 is that sometimes mode 1 loses the sync pulses and the screen rolls sideways. And if you go to mode 2, that doesn't happen. But with mode 2, the screen is you're going to lose signal just a little bit sooner. You're going to get just a little bit less range. The other reason to use rapid fire mode 2 is that if you're using camera switching, when you use camera switching, you say you're using legacy mode for camera switching. I thought you could use mode 2 with camera switching. Because the two cameras won't have synced up sync pulses, and when in mode 1 would get super confused. Mike Neeson, thanks for 10 Australian dollars. Joey Hightower, thanks for $5. My new 5-inch feels mushier on all axes than my GTR 349. Any tuning tips? Larger quads are going to have a very different response field than smaller quads. They have more mass, so they will respond slower. Raise feed forward is my recommendation, Jody. Feed forward sharpens up stick feel and can get you some of that feel back that you're looking for. Seth Patton, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Will Ghost require a mod in an old QX7? I think that Ghost will be affected in the same way Crossfire is affected. Because as a low latency, high speed protocol, the inverter mod has to affect it too. A Day at the Range, thanks for $15. I wanted to send you a quad with my custom firmware on it, and I wanted to see other environments other than my open range and no trees. Interesting. I don't think it would be a good idea for you to send me a quad. Day at the Range, thank you, by the way, in case you don't know. He has custom firmware on his DJI and signal boosters, and he's out there flying it, I don't know, whatever, like 12 miles or something. I am not going to do that. Because there are certain things that you can do, like, for example, Bruce Simpson. I'm not going to talk about myself because I don't want to get myself in trouble. Bruce Simpson said when he flies with a spotter always, as required by the laws of New Zealand. His spotter is his wife, and if you don't see her on camera, she's standing off in the corner so she doesn't mess up the video. But she is there, she is spotting, and she is there safe all the time. Well, no one can prove or disprove that, and so no one's really going to bother. But long-range flying here in the U.S., there's really no legal way to do it. You have to have an FAA waiver to go beyond visual line of sight, and they're not giving out waivers. Now, if you live out in the desert and you fly 12 miles, probably nobody cares. But if I live out in Knoxville and I fly 12 miles, I'm going to be going over a lot of things that I think would not look good on camera, and I don't do long range. So I appreciate the offer, but that's not, I'm not going to be able to take advantage of that. Lies FPV, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Have you seen anything about the XJT modules to connect to D8 on the Access models of the Tyrannus? I feel tricked by not being able to connect D8. Yep. I mean, to be fair, the information is out there, but I don't blame you if you missed it. You just need to get a FreeSky XJT module, or you can get one of the multi-protocol modules. They can all do it. AJ Huddleston, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Callie C, thanks for $10 in the super chat. Looking into a first build, what factors help keep noise down? I'm looking at Kebab's TP3 as a guide. I mean, the frame, the design helps keep noise down. Having a stiff frame and a well-designed bottom plate. Smaller props make less noise, but they spin at higher RPM, which also helps keep noise down. There's only so much you can do if you're assuming that you have a 3-inch, though. But I think copying a good build is definitely worth doing. Mr. WTFPV wants to know, what's the maximum milliamp hours to have on a 6S Freestyle quad battery? A good rule of thumb, Mr. WTFPV, is that the battery should not weigh more than about 1/3 the weight of the quad. That's for a freestyle or racing drone, not for, I mean, like, on a racing drone, you might have a little bit bigger battery because the quad is ultra lightweight. On like a camera drone, you might have a lot of battery because you want really extended flight time and you don't care about agility. But as a good rule of thumb for a freestyle or racing drone, make 1/3 of the weight or less the battery, and 2/3 or more the rest of the quad, and that's a decent rule of thumb. Continuing the super chats. Ron Grant, thanks for $5. The best way to discharge multiple packs for storage quickly. You can discharge to storage on a parallel board the same as you can charge on a parallel board. So yeah, just get a parallel board, plug them in, and discharge them down to storage safely while obeying all safety precautions. Doghouse FPV in the Discord is asking, does anybody know of a Betaflight flight controller that breaks out the SPI interface? Yeah, Doghouse, there are tons of flight controllers that break out SPI. SPI is used for the compass on lots of flight controllers. And if you're willing to write the drivers for it, it could be used for anything else. But lots of flight controllers break out SPI. I mean, not all of them, but lots of them. So, like, what's a specific one? I know that the Maytech ones definitely do because they have iNav targets. All iNav targets will have dedicated I2C pads because iNav requires it. Ronald Wechter, thank you for $5. Nico Espana, thank you for 5,000 CLP. What's a CLP? Chilean peso. Is that what it is? Yes, Chilean peso. Thank you, Nico. What would you recommend for video for long range between mountains? TBS plus rapid fire or DJI? I mean, for true long range, you're going to want 1.3 gigahertz analog. There's very little that can beat that. And I don't say that as someone who has experience. I understand the physics. But the problem with that is that 1.3 gigahertz receivers are kind of crappy. There's only like 2 of them in existence. So rapid fire is at least a very, very good 5 gigahertz receiver. And if you have high gain antennas and high output, you can get 10 or 15 kilometers on 5 gig. You just got to know what you're doing. As far as DJI goes, you're going to be limited to, I think you're limited to like 6 kilometers. And that's a limitation of the protocol, not no matter how many amplifiers you have or whatever. I think if you truly want to do long range, you're going to be an analog, but DJI can get pretty far. Pez FPV, that is 1/3 the weight of the quad, 1/3 the weight of the total quad all up. So the battery weighs half as much as the quad without the battery. So 200 gram battery, 400 gram quad. That's what I'm saying. JC Drone, thanks for $5. Justin French, thanks for $5. Crossfire Diversity works fine on USB power, but when I plug in a LiPo, it doesn't get power. Justin French, your 5-volt regulator is dead. That's my guess. The fix for that, sadly, I mean, I can't think of what else would cause that. Sadly, I mean, test with a multimeter and see if any of your other 5-volt pads are giving power, but most people would just replace the flight controller at that point, although technically there are ways to repair it. Most people wouldn't. Marcus Coleman wants to know, what's your preferred frame for the DJI system? I gotta say, I don't think I have one yet. The frame that I have used the most has been the Rotor Riot HD1. And I beat the crap out of it, and it just won't break. Which is, I'm never going to say the Rotor Riot HD1 is my favorite frame for DJI, because it's just like there's nothing, it's so utilitarian. And it just works, and you beat the crap out of it, and it doesn't break. But I don't care, because I'm like, what's your favorite one? Well, first of all, if I say the Rotor Riot HD1, everybody's going to go, yeah, right, of course, Rotor Riot shill. But just like, I want the frame to have some panache if it's going to be my favorite. and it doesn't have any panache. It just gets the job done. I'm kind of complaining, but I'm also complimenting it. Some frames I've tried, the Newbie Drone Vivid. I've broken 2 arms on the Newbie Drone Vivid so far in the exact same place. So right now, the Newbie Drone Vivid is on my thumbs down list. I told the owner of Newbie Drone about my experience, and he said, yep, we're going to fix that. I'm sure they will, but for now, I'm steering away from it. The arms just seem to break too easily. They're I don't know. Catalyst Machine Works Bang God. Very good frame, super durable, little fiddly, little heavy. Couldn't go wrong with the Apex. So, Jameson Cox, thanks for $5. First quad build and the digital versus analog decision paralyzed me. Decided on digital and sold my gaming PC. Wow. Parts on the way, fingers crossed. You sold your gaming PC to buy DJI. Wow. I mean, okay, but wow. I mean, you could play a lot of games. I guess you could fly a lot of quadcopters. Lucas Coelho Carisma da Silva. Thank you for 5 Brazilian reais. I bought my first drone. It's a Mobula 7 HD with a Beta FPV Light Radio 2 and EV800D goggles. So they make a good choice as a beginner. I mean, the EV800D, of those 3 things, the EV800D is the one that I'm most happy with. Those are really, really solid goggles for beginners at a good price point. The Beta FPV Light Radio 2 will get the job done. It's a good radio. It does annoy me that you can only configure it by hooking it up to OpenTX Companion. That would drive me crazy, but I guess you set your radio up one time and then you're done, and okay. It only supports 1 model, too. I think you're going to outgrow that radio soon. The Mobula 7 HD, if I were to steer a beginner towards a quad like that, I would steer them away from the HD. As a beginner, you're not going to be doing anything really impressive with the quad anyway. The ability to record in HD, you add a lot of weight, and the quad definitely flies worse. And it doesn't affect your flight experience because you can't see the video until after you're done anyway. So I would have probably steered you towards the Mobula 7 or a Mobula 6 versus the Mobula 7 HD, but you didn't do bad. Let's see. Zeus Alex in the Discord wants to know, I've got a question. My brand new DJI FPV system has the latest firmware. I can select 50 megabit per second, but it doesn't actually get to 50 meg. It goes to 25. If I remove the left antenna of the unit, it keeps 25 meg, but if I remove the right one, it drops to 15. Well, don't do that. Is my left antenna input not working? It's Blunty suggests that you go to Settings, Device, Reset Device. I don't know what you're finding with the antennas, but I don't think that's your problem, that's for sure. Got a lot of super chats coming in, keeping me super busy. Aza Aceman, thank you for 5 New Zealand dollars. I've just switched over to Crossfire. What aux channel is the RSSI link quality on? You decide that. You go into the receiver configuration. You put RSSI link quality on any channel you prefer, preferably not channel 1 through 4, since those are your control channels. You have to set that up, though. Dreamus, thank you for 400 rubles. Thank you. You're cool. Oh, thank you. My mom says that, too. Eric Magnus, thanks for $2. Could TBS put 2.4 gig on the Tango 2? Yes, they're going to do that. They've as much as said that they're going to do that. There's going to be a multi-protocol module in the Tango 2. That is not an official announcement, but it is. They basically have winked around it so much that it's essentially confirmed. Ghost Branch FPV points out that the antenna mounts of the DJI goggles can screw loose inside the goggle. That doesn't tend to happen with the factory antennas, though. Try changing the channel. Yeah, that's a good one. Have you tried changing the channel, Zeus? Have you tried changing the channel? Doghouse goes back. Doghouse says, I don't want the I2C interface. I wanted the SPI interface. Doghouse, if you have a flight controller with an SD card slot, the SD card slot is essentially just an SPI interface. An SD card is just this right here. That's an SPI interface, or so I'm told. I've never tested it. I think also the data flash chip is an SPI interface. So in theory, you could desolder the data flash chip from a flight controller and solder up to an SPI interface. Does SPI put the peripherals in parallel? Could you just solder it in parallel? I'm not sure about that. No, Doghouse, in general, nobody breaks out the SPI interface because there are no SPI-based peripherals that people typically use. It's just the I2C interface. Doghouse says, good idea. The SD pads, thanks. Okay, well, now we know what kind of a level of technical expertise you're at. That's such a crazy suggestion. Seems like a good idea, but there you go. Empadi008 in the regular old chat asks, could a bad 5-volt regulator cause split-style camera blackouts? Yep, absolutely. Sure, of course. The split cameras draw a lot of power, and if the regulator's bad, you're going to get blackouts. Oh, thank you, Kyle K. See, it's been a long time since my Arduino days, and I had forgotten the details of the SPI interface. For SPI, you need a chip select pin. Right. So you could not just solder to an exposed pad in parallel. You could remove the SD card reader and solder up your own device, and then you would need to write code to take advantage of it, of course. Mr. WTFPV, what drone building kit do you recommend for a newbie? Funny, you should ask that. Thanks for the opportunity to plug my own product. The best to you guys. Building quadcopters is hard, but you don't have to struggle anymore. Thanks to Joshua Bardwell and GetFPV, who've released the Xylo 5-inch Freestyle Beginner Drone Bundle, the Joshua Bardwell Edition. The Xylo 5-inch Freestyle Drone Bundle, Joshua Bardwell Edition, is a complete 5-inch drone bundle with a step-by-step build guide by renowned FPV instructor, Joshua Bardwell. That's me. For only $249, you get all the parts you need to build this quadcopter. Pretty amazing. Is this drone kit good for beginners? Heck, yeah, it is. It's just one easy to assemble kit that takes all the guesswork out of picking parts. And Joshua Bardwell even made his own tutorial about how to build it, with no fewer than 6 parts. That's a lot of parts. Some of them are even 40 minutes long. Wow. For all the receiver, well, you got to pick your own receiver, Josh Feltz. You can get it. You got to pick your own receiver, obviously. I mean, clearly. For all my joking, I do think that's a pretty good product, and would recommend it to beginners. Marciano 027 in the Discord asks, is there a way to add black box capability to a flight controller that doesn't have it? Yep, absolutely. What you want is this. This is the Open Logger device. You can buy it from Airbot. Can you really buy it from Don't buy it from Ready to Fly Quads. Don't shop at Ready to Fly Quads ever. How are they still in business? How is this store still in business? Are they still in business, really? Oh my God, it says departing from, it's August 2020. They're still in, how is the store still in business? This is the first, way back when I was just getting into quads. I watched a Flight Test episode where they showed some Ready to Fly Quads stuff, and I went, oh, Flight Test backs these guys. They must be good. This company has terrible customer support. Like not responding to emails. Product sometimes doesn't arrive and you're just screwed. I don't even remember half the details. I ordered product from them. It didn't come. I had no recourse, and I was waiting for weeks to build this quadcopter. I was so excited about it, And I just felt so screwed over by them. I was kind of mad at Flight Test, but, you know, what are you going to do? And I was like... And then I found out everybody else felt the same way. So I'm kind of surprised after all these years that they're still in business. But there you go. They're still in business. Go figure. They're kind of just like a front for Airbot, aren't they? Look at all this Airbot stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to stop showing them on the live stream if I don't want people to. Anyway, this is the Airbot Open Logger. It is a serial-based black box logging device. However, the typical problem with serial-based SD card loggers is that they can't go fast enough because the baud rate's too slow. But this thing has super, super high baud rate and can log as fast as you need to. Clocked at 19.2 megahertz with DMA. Holy crap. And with a buffer memory in case the card is busy. So if you need to add black box logging to a quad that doesn't have it, this is the way to do it. What do you mean they do all the flight test orders anymore? Ready to Fly Quads fulfills for flight test? Really? UAV Tech says Open Logger is too slow. Isn't that the whole point of Open Logger? That it's faster and can do like 19.2 megahertz or whatever? I thought that was the point. Yeah, Open Logger. Not Open Logger. Open Logger. That's different. Open Logger? You don't want this. Not this. Open Lager, like the German beer. That's what you want. Jack is here. Bright on till I fly. Jack is here from Let's Drone Out. Nice to see you in the chat there, Jack. Hope things are going well for you. John H. wants a video about T-16 and Crossfire. What? I have a video. Oh, Botwell's broken. I got a video for you there, man. I made the exact video you're asking for. It is right here. But somebody tell Puck that Botwell's broken. All right, I'm behind on Super Chats. Let's get some Super Chats again. Michael McGrady, thank you for $5. I have a 3-inch that I love. I'm trying to decide on a second quad. Besides carrying a GoPro, what advantages does a 5-inch have over a 3-inch? A 5-inch will have more... I was going to say more speed, but some 3-inches are pretty freaking fast. A 5-inch has more stability due to its larger wheelbase and larger props. It is going to carry its weight more when you drop the throttle, so you can do flingy type moves. Yeah, I guess that's how I would sum it up. I also feel like 5 inches are going to be more durable. They're going to crash better. The 3 inches are lower weight, but they're also a lot less carbon. So I think a lot of 5 inches are going to be faster than most 3 inches too. What exactly is the AS slot on the Holybro F7 for? They asks Mark Philly 80. I have no idea. What is the AS slot? What is the AS slot? I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. Where do you see that? Let's look for the AS slot. SDA? I'm not sure what you're asking, man. I'm really sorry. The SD slot? The SD card slot? Could that be it? Yes, it's SD. Look at your keyboard. AS is right next to SD. The SD card slot, Mark Philly, is for black box logging. Raven187, thanks for $5 Australian. Have you seen the mods done by RC Group's user Dikaus on the Beta FPV Light Radio? Yes, I have seen it. There's this guy out there who has cracked the Beta FPV Light Radio and added a screen and OpenTX. Really cool stuff, although I think not really for the mainstream consumption. It's a lot of work to do what he's done. Nick Marino, thank you for a $20 super chat. I tested analog on my DJI with both types and a new Fusion. OSD is fuzzy and the picture's blown out compared to my HD3 on LaForge. Does analog will look worse in the DJI goggles since there's an analog signal coming over an AV port? No, not at all. I mean, it's not going to look like an OLED, but your HD3 isn't an OLED either. Something isn't right. Something isn't right, man. Maybe, I mean, I don't know what it could be, though. But no, analog doesn't look worse in the DJI goggles just because it's coming into the AV port. Crypto Noof in the Discord asks, I'm trying to activate bidirectional D-shot on my ESC using the JESC firmware, but my motors all show 100% error. Crypto Noof, make sure that you have activated the telemetry on JESC. Simply flashing JESC isn't enough. You have to then activate and install the telemetry. So that's a common thing that people overlook. Mr. WTFPV wants to know how to add an FS IA6B receiver to my quad kit. I would recommend a different FlySky receiver like the Flea 14 Plus. The FS IA6B is pretty big. I mean, I understand that a lot of people want to use it because it just came with their controller. It's so freaking big. But what you need to do is plug into... Come here. What you need to... Oh, okay, just show me your image. Show me the image. No. Where is it? Oh, here we go. What you need to do is take this sideways plug on the right, which is the iBus output. And that is going to connect to the, I think it's the RX3 pad on the underside of the flight controller, which is intended for Crossfire, but can also be used for iBus. License to Drive suggests the FS RX2A Pro. Is that one better? Is that one better? Is that the one I should be recommending going forward? It doesn't have diversity, though. Doesn't have diversity. Why would I not get it? And it's got solder on. Let's see. What's the deal? The Flea 14 Plus also has solder on antennas, but at least has diversity. Is that the Pro that I was looking at? Maybe it wasn't the Pro. Oh, well, here's the Pro. Still doesn't have diversity, but at least it's got a UFL antenna. Maybe. Toady RZ agrees with me that the Flea 14 Plus is the best choice for most FlySky users. I wish the Flea 14 Plus had UFL connectors, though, because the solder and antennas are almost a deal breaker. Snick wants to know if you can flash an ESC if the motors aren't attached. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Mike Papano. Oh, that's a tough one, Mike. When doing the ribbon cable upgrade on the Jumper T16, which way is up on the new ribbon cables? I mean... I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Put it in one way, and if it doesn't work, put it in the other way, and then you know. License to Drive says the Flea 14 Plus fail-safed on me at 120 meters. I've gotten nearly 500 meters from the FS RX2A Pro. I mean, that's just, no offense, License to Drive, but that's a sample size of one. There are lots of things that could cause a fail-safe. I think the Flea 14 Plus is in general considered to be like defective. Could you just have had a bad one? Nick Marino, thanks for $20 in the super chat. I got you already. Jameson Cox, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Still have a gaming laptop, so it seemed worth it to sell your gaming PC to get the DJI system. Well, if you got a gaming laptop, at least you can still game. Went with a 6S 2306 1700 kV iFlight Zingy motor, SUX-XD stack, and the GEP-RC Mark IV frame. Decent? Yep, I think that's a really decent build. The GEP-RC Mark IV frame is a very, it's got a lot of character. Phantom FPV's in the chat. Phantom, did you see what I posted to Instagram today, Phantom? Yeah, just in case you missed it. Isn't it great when people use a stream to just talk to one person? Nevertheless. Did you guys see this? Oh, I can hit that. I could have hit that. I could have hit that gap. What do you think? You guys think I can do it? I mean, that was actually lined up perfect. I just chickened out because I wasn't expecting it. It's totally random, isn't it? All right, well, some of you guys already saw that at the beginning of the stream, nevertheless. No, I'm not going to drop a link. I'll just show it to you right here on the live stream and take up 556 people's time showing you a clip. There you go. Crypto Noof is still trying to figure out his JESC. What's going on here, Crypto Noof? What do we got going on here? Where's that freaking... Where'd that... Dang it. There it is. So Crypto Noof, at this moment, all of your ESCs are activated and licensed, so telemetry should work. All of them are activated and licensed. Telemetry should work. Is your battery plugged in? I mean, that would cause the ESC telemetry not to work. I'm sure you're going to say your battery's plugged in. Let's see here. Michael McGrady, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Oh, I got you. I got you there. Blue Jay, thanks for €2. DJI on the Mr. Steel Apex build to test latency. I mean, the latency on the DJI build is going to be higher than a low latency analog build. There's no question about that. I think the flip side is that you can see where you're going. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. Phantom, that dive was on analog, but I never would have seen that gap if I hadn't spotted it on DJI first. So that specific dive was on analog, but I lined it up on DJI first. Crunked says he's on 2.2 and 2.3 telemetry. Hang on, Crunked. What are you trying to tell me here? Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Crypto Noof, you are on JESC 2.2, but you're on telemetry 2.3. Do you need to reflash your ESCs and update them to 2.3? That might be the thing. Thank you. Thank you for that, Crunked. I did not catch that. Ten Lay, thank you for $10 in the super chat. I noticed you use the stock antennas on your DJI goggles. Are they the best? No. Want to upgrade mine for general freestyle and Omni format options? The DJI antennas are not the best, but I keep using them. One reason I keep using them is that they have a collar on them so that when you screw them in, it presses against the faceplate and snugs up the SMA connector. If you're using aftermarket antennas that just screw onto the SMA, you can accidentally twist the SMA connector inside the goggle and twist off the cable. Mostly it's just laziness. I just think it's just laziness. I get okay performance with them, and I don't rush to just try a new thing. I've used a couple of directional antennas with the DJI goggles. I really just hated the form factor and how kind of fiddly they were to install. I think one of the ones that sounds good to me is like the VAZ Orion, the Video Aerial Systems antenna for DJI. It basically sticks to the front and then just cables screw in, so that's kind of nice. But I mostly fly with the stock Omnis, and so far they've done okay. You can definitely do better. Lumineer Axie, TrueRC Stubby, both of those are good Omnis that work great. or really any left-hand polarized Omni that you like, although form factor starts to get bad when you have larger ones. Kool-Aid Killer says, I put Project Mockingbird on my Tiny Hawk and the battery life has been cut in half. Is that normal? It's hard for me to believe that anything about your tune would cut your battery life in half. Yes, raising degain and reducing filtering can cause motors to get hot. That energy comes from somewhere, and it does result in slightly reduced battery life, but half? I don't know about that. Mike Bemiller says, when your flight controller says 217% CPU utilization, how is it flying? Mike, Betaflight uses a prioritized scheduler. I'm going to get some of these details wrong, and I apologize, but I apologize to the devs. I heard this explained once. I kind of made a note of it, and now I haven't quite remembered it. When CPU utilization goes over 100%, some things are being delayed. For example, telemetry updates. When CPU utilization approaches 100%, telemetry updates might skip a cycle and only run every other PID loop. Whenever your CPU utilization is over 100%, something is getting delayed. But it just is a measurement of how much is getting delayed. The important stuff, like reading the receiver and running the PID loop and running the filters, that happens every cycle. You're looking in the CLI, I think, which is where you see that. So it's not really, it's saying if I were to do everything every cycle, I would need 217% CPU utilization. But obviously that's impossible, so I'm not doing that. How are you getting to 217%? That's the real question. Are there any other video systems better than the DJI? Asks Steven Senzia. I mean, a lot of people are hoping that Fat Shark Shark Bite is going to be better than DJI. It certainly will have a few features that DJI doesn't, like the ability to output to an HDMI cable and be input into any typical HDMI capable goggle. As far as pure video range and performance, it seems like nobody is close to. I mean, even Sharkbite doesn't claim to beat DJI at that aspect of their game. The other company that you might want to keep an eye on is Orca, who has made a lot of insinuations that they're working on a digital system, but nothing proven, nothing official. Ronnie King in the Discord says, do chamfered edges matter on carbon frames? Very interesting question, Ronnie. I heard an opinion from the guy who designed the original Alien frame. So, you know, he knows what he's talking about. And he made the argument that in that type of object, stresses are concentrated in the corners like that. And that when you chamfer or bevel or whatever you want to call it, pardon me, I'm going to, hold on one second. Excuse me. I had to sneeze there for a minute. He made the argument that when you chamfer or bevel, you're actually removing some of the material that is most important to the strength of the arm. And showed some like stress simulations that showed that the stresses are concentrated in those areas. If you think about it, like which is more likely to collapse, a square or a tube, a circular tube? Yeah, an extruded square. So there's an argument that it weakens, although a lot of people do it anyway. It looks nice, and I'm not sure the difference maybe is substantial. I couldn't say. Andre Lopez wants to know, is DShot 600 with 8K, 8K, and RPM filtering too much workload for F405 flight controllers? On Betaflight 4.2, they recommend 4K, 4K for F4 flight controllers with RPM filtering and DShot 300. That's what they recommend. How noticeable is the difference from DShot 300 4K to DShot 600 8K? I would bet almost any amount of money that almost no one could blind tell the difference between 4K 300 and 8K 600. Like, I guarantee, just like you're almost certainly not going to be able to notice a difference. The difference is there if you're looking at black box logs, but Ghost Branch FPV wants to know, ever since BLHeli32 supported bidirectional DShot, that's all I've seen people use for enabling RPM filtering. In fact, Ghost Branch, that's all you can use. You have to have bidirectional DShot to use RPM filtering. There's no other option. There have been ESCs and flight controllers before that have dedicated telemetry pads, and they can also report RPM data. So would RPM filters work that way too, and would it have any advantages or disadvantages over bidirectional DShot? Well, there are some questions about that, Ghost Branch. RPM filtering based on ESC telemetry has been implemented in iNav by Pavel Spikowski. And Pavel made an argument that based on the response time of the ESC telemetry, the RPM data was updated fast enough. And I don't remember his math, but basically, if you're running at 4 kilohertz PID loop and you have 4 ESCs, then each ESC updates every 1 kilohertz, and that's fine. Or maybe it's less than that. But the Betaflight devs and the BLHeli devs invented bidirectional DShot specifically because they believed that ESC telemetry was not adequate for RPM filtering. And here's the thing. When you're doing RPM filtering, you need the RPM data as close to real time as you can because the motor is changing speed over time. And so if your RPM data is delayed, your filter is going to be delayed and it's not going to do the filtering that you want. One of the things that I think Pavel Spikowski missed in iNav, he could be in the chat, is that it takes way longer to get the answer from ESC telemetry than his math assumed. People look at it and go, and this wasn't exactly what Pavel said, but they go 4 kilohertz PID loop, 4 ESCs, 1 kilohertz timing. That's plenty fast. That's plenty low latency enough. But the truth is that it can take 80 or 90 milliseconds to get the response back from the ESC telemetry for reasons. And it's just so delayed that you have to have bidirectional DShot. He's not here today, but he is here sometimes. So Ghost Branch, you have to have bidirectional DShot. That's the bottom line. Sir Toasty says, best analog adapter for DJI with the lowest delay. Thank you for €5, Sir Toasty. Sir Toasty, none of the analog adapters have any delay whatsoever. They are simply a wire that passes through the signal from the module into the AV input and powers the goggle. None of the adapters have any measurable delay whatsoever. So don't even think about that. I like the British Drone Industries BDI Digidapter. It is not the lowest profile, but it is the easiest to install with only 2 screw install, and it takes any Fat Shark adapter. And it has there's a microphone outfit too, which the DJI goggles don't have, so that's kind of cool. The Digidapter is available at GetFPV and Race Day Quads and other U.S. retailers if you're in the United States. And if you're in the UK or Europe, you can order from the UK store. That's the one I suggest going with. Ben Marks says, should first-time TBS Crossfire shoppers wait to see how Immersion RC Ghost shakes out over the next couple of months? I mean, if I were shopping today, I wouldn't want to deal with crappy FreeSky 2.4 gigahertz for another 6 months while I waited to see whether Ghost was good for me or not. I would probably buy Crossfire today. And then 6 months from now, if Ghost is like amazing and everybody loves it, sell my Crossfire and get Ghost. You're not going to be able to sell your receivers, probably. It's probably wasting a lot of money. I mean, I guess wait. I don't know. It's the thing is, I have a lot of faith that Immersion RC is going to put out something great. At the same time, there are some very valid questions about like 2.4 gigahertz penetration. And Immersion RC's answer is that LoRa, chirped spread spectrum, is going to overcome all that. Well, maybe it will. But I feel like those are valid enough questions that personally I would take a wait and see attitude. If you are super curious or super excited, if you're a person out there who just really doesn't like TBS, has a lot of very, very ardent fans, and there are some people out there who just really don't like them, and there are people who are looking to Ghost and going, okay, I'm going to get this because it's not TBS. I mean, if you have reasons to jump and be the first adopter, go for it. Immersion RC has a great track record of supporting products that they release. Everybody who has Express LRS is like, what are you talking about? They don't support that product. I know, but it's like, how old is that product? So they've kind of abandoned that one. So some of their older products they've abandoned, but I feel like Ghost is gonna be updated. They're gonna give it a good push and they're gonna support it. But if you're worried about buying the wrong thing, should you buy Crossfire? Should you buy Ghost? I'll probably wait. Okay. How'd that go? The only problem I have with TBS is the cost, says Doom FPV. TBS has been knocking the price of Crossfire down. It's nearly as cheap as R9 these days. So. Timothy Smith says, I was recently working on my quad when I realized the core temp was 158 degrees and I turned it off. When I turned it back on, the motors were all errors and no gyro. Timothy Smith, I don't think there's any way the core temp is going to reach 160 degrees unless you have like a short circuit or something. I mean, I don't know. That's a really high core temperature. It shouldn't do that under normal operation. That's for sure. Tin Lei, thank you for $10. Would you consider putting on your site some 3D printing STL file links for drone parts you recommend? Camera mounts, skids, arm bumpers, etc. No, I'm not going to do that. And one reason is that there are so many different quads out there. I mean, look at Thingiverse. There's just millions of parts on, I don't know how many there are, but there's so many parts on Thingiverse, every different quad, people always tweaking things. I'm not going to try and start like a catalog of 3D printed parts because it would just be a never-ending job. Thingiverse has already got that handled, I think. Techno FPV, how can I tell if my Fusion is V1 or V2? I got it 1 month ago. I posted on my Facebook page a while back how to tell. Can I search my own Facebook page? How do I search? I know this search box is here. I don't think that's actually what I want. How do I search my own Facebook page? Maybe this is what I want. No, that's not. How do I search my own? Facebook is the worst. How do I search my own frickin'? The chat is yelling at me right now, telling me where to look, where to go. Where's the search box, you flip? Okay. There's no search box. Of course I wouldn't want to search my own Facebook page. No, maybe it's been indexed. Nope. All right. Brian Doctor says, check the pin header. If it says ver 1.15 next to the pin header, then it's version 2. That's the version number where they change the module over. If it says version 1.11 on the bottom of the module, thank you, Brian, then it's version 1. Techno FPV, that's the answer. Brian Doctor, I owe you $2 from that super chat. Marley Lepo, of course, I only get $1 of that super chat. YouTube takes the other. YouTube takes like, what do they take from super chat? I think they take like half of super chats. So I only owe you $1, Brian. Marley Lepo, thanks for 50 Norwegian kroner. Mr. Joshua, would you expand your Bardwellisms on your simple smoke stopper light bulb build for Europeans? Wattage and voltage is a bit different. I mean, I'm pretty sure that your automobiles still have 12-volt nominal. I mean, I know 110 and 220 is different, but your light bulbs are still 12 volts, right? The real thing is that in Europe, I don't think you can get incandescent light bulbs anymore. They're all LED. But that's okay because V-Fly has released the V-Fly smoke or short stopper. And it's too soon to say that the V-Fly short stopper is like just the go-to forever. Give me just a picture, please. The short saver. There you go. The V-Fly short saver. It's too soon to say. Like, but I'm very positive on this. I hope that this becomes the smoke stopper that everybody has and nobody bothers with light bulbs anymore. Because it's pretty freaking good. I'm waiting. It just got released, and I'm waiting until it's been on the market for like 3 months and we don't find any quality issues or anything. But so far, I'm really, really excited about it. Electricity works different in Europe. I mean, I'm pretty sure it still obeys the fundamental physical laws. Okay. I will say Burn DSC, Burn DSC says the light bulb thing is so cool. The big advantage of the light bulb is that it slowly drops the voltage as the current rises. So let's say you spin your motors. As you raise the throttle, the light bulb starts to light up and the motors slow down. But there's not just this instant moment where it cuts off. And in some applications, that's actually better. When's the new Santiago? Hefte Santiago? When's the new month product roundup and giveaway? It has been recorded today and will be released tomorrow. It is being edited as we speak. Yep. Drone Pilot says, I'm an electrical engineer. I can tell you that a light bulb has characteristics you can't emulate with electronics. Well, not easily. Plus, it's cheap. It's true. The light bulb will let increasing amounts of current flow, and the voltage will decrease gradually as the current goes up. And there are times when you really want that. That's true. No more super chats coming in. Everybody's giving up their super chat money. No more questions also. No more questions. The chat is just... Here's one from Bill Revenaugh. Bill, thank you, Bill, for the question. I've tried to do 48K on my Whoop L-type ESCs with JESC many times. It flashes correctly and seems good, but then the motors won't spin. Any ideas? I know that you normally could not do that on L-type ESCs. You couldn't do JESC on L-type or 48K on L-type ESCs. They're just not fast enough. Then there was like a firmware for L-type, but it didn't work with all of them. I'm going to guess you just don't have compatible ESCs there, Bill. And that's going to be it. That's my guess. Kyle Daniels, thank you for $5 in the super chat. I love the outro videos. Keep them coming. They're a funny way to end the video. Thank you. I've been thinking about ways to record new ones. Mike Bemiller, if you haven't tried the Z's stack, I love mine. I do have a Z's stack in a build, Mike. I will say one thing about the Z's stack. Let's put it up on screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. Z's FC. So this is the Z's flight controller. Here we go. And it's got a spot for you to solder on your Crossfire receiver right on the flight controller. And that seems like a good idea, but depending on how big your frame is, the cable from the Immortal T might it just on the it's a glide frame from Kebab FPV. The Immortal T can just barely reach, which I was like, oh, that sucks. Do they make an Immortal T with a long cable? I wonder. What is that? I don't want that. Do they make an Immortal T with... Oh, extended. Yes. Extra extended. It's got to be the cable, right? Yes. So I need this. In stock. Usually ships within 2 to 3 days. From where does it ship? Ships and sold from Vision FPV. Are they in the U.S.? I got to pick up one of these because my normal Immortal T is not long enough to reach the freaking crossfire on this one. So, yeah. Our 915 megahertz extension is going to cause signal loss, asks ProZ1 Full. Anytime you have a connector, you get a small amount of loss, but it should be minimal. Just like 1 or 2 extensions. You don't want to go crazy with connectors. They have a small amount of loss, but it does add up. So that's something to keep in mind. Raptor FPV says, I accidentally left my Crossfire light module on for 5 days at 100 milliwatts with no antenna. Yikes. I mean, Raptor, TBS has a page in their knowledge base, in their help desk system, where they talk about how long you can leave different devices plugged in with no antenna without damage. Some devices, it's just forever. I think the Crossfire Lite... Oh, you're only at 100 milliwatts. You're probably fine. I mean, the only way to tell if it's damaged is to either measure the output power with like a power meter or test the range. You're probably fine. If you email TBS support or contact TBS support somehow, then that would probably give you your answer though. Yeah, Big Data Pimp, I'm with you. How did you leave it powered on for 5 days without killing the battery of whatever it was plugged into? It's pretty weird. Tinlay, thank you for $5 more. Tinlay being very generous with the donations tonight. What are your thoughts on lithium-ion batteries on Cinewhoops? Saw a video that says he got up to 34-minute flight time. Tinlay, lithium-ion batteries have lower discharge rate but higher energy density compared to lithium polymer batteries. The other thing about lithium-ion is you can discharge them down to like 2.5 volts. So you start at 4.2 or maybe 4.1 and you go all the way down to 2.5. You get more energy out of the pack. The downside is that you have to have low discharge rate. You're not going to see a lithium-ion racing drone pulling 60, 80, 100, 120, 200 amps, not without a great big honking battery pack. It doesn't make sense. Lithium-ion batteries are especially good for like long-range airplanes where there's just one motor that you need to spin, and so you're only pulling 6 or 8 or 12 amps. For a quadcopter, you need to stay under, let's say you need to stay under about like 30 amps at most. Because these 18650 cells, that's kind of the maximum, and really the actual effective rating is less than that. But if you've got a quadcopter that can fly at less than, let's say, 15 to 20 amps, then you can get extended flight time by building lithium-ion packs. See here. William, which true wireless earphones are worth buying in 2020? The only true wireless earbuds worth buying? Funny you ask that, William Bano. That gives me a great opportunity. Great opportunity to plug the sponsor of today's stream, Raycon. Raycon earbuds are the most compact wireless earbuds for your everyday grind, designed to deliver more powerful sound than any earbuds of its size, available in black, blue, red, Only $79.99. Quantity 1. With 25K star ratings, they can't be wrong. Look at this lady. Don't you want to be like her? Websites that make me not able to right-click can go to hell. They fit in your pocket? Look at that. Can you put headphones in your pocket? No. These you can. They come with a compact charging case and are only 33 by 60 millimeters in size. Look at these happy customers. See this lady? Wow. She looks like she spends a lot of time listening to earphones. This man has a camera and earbuds. This kid's going to school. All the kids on the bus are screaming. Bus drivers shouting at him. He can't hear him. He's got his Raycons in. He reads Thrasher magazine. This lady definitely wearing earbuds. This guy looking over at this lady. Am I right? All these people use Raycon. Wouldn't you like to? Raycon. This that was not a paid sponsor spot. I was just making fun of Raycon advertising. I know that every video you see today is sponsored by Raycon. They're not actually good earbuds. They're for $80. They're like super bass heavy is what I hear. They're super bass heavy. They're kind of cheap. They're not great. They're overpriced. You can do better. But they got a lot of marketing dollars. Raycon, you see what you're missing? You want some of this? Just think how good I would have read that spot if you'd been paying me, Raycon. You guys ever heard of Raid Shadow Legends? Guys ever heard of World of Warships? What are we doing? What is the best true wireless earbuds? That was the question. Probably probably if you have an iPhone, probably the iPods, right? I don't have an iPhone though. All right, moving on. Let's move on. That's enough of that nonsense. Prosy1 Full, thanks for $2 in the super chat. 5.8 gig plus 915 megahertz antenna spacing for no interference. I mean, you want a couple centimeters for sure. As long as they're outside of each other's near field, you shouldn't get too much interference. I used to have a set of stop it. Put my phone on silent before a freaking live stream, like a professional. I used to have a set of Bose, but they weren't the true wireless. They were the wired ones. Anyway. The top antenna mounts on my DJI goggles are getting loose from bumping them on things, says Quad Whisperer. Quad Whisperer, bear in mind that the DJI goggle, antennas will have just a tiny bit of turning give, but they shouldn't be like floppy loose. If they really are loosening up like that, the only thing to do, I think, is you have to like open them up and look at the inside. Are they just like a little bit of twistiness? That's normal. Cool Hands 21 wants to know, when mounting the Crossfire antenna vertically, is there a correct up and down? No. As like the radiation pattern is symmetrical. I mean, assuming under certain assumptions the radiation pattern is symmetrical. And in reality, I guess which side is close to your quad could make a difference. But I'm not sure I'm qualified to say which is better or worse. It should be symmetrical, though, and it shouldn't matter which side is up. Immortal T or Whip? I know you fly Immortal T, but why? Starjumper asks. The Immortal T is just more durable than the Whip. Once I figured out how to mount it, and once I started soldering the ends of the Immortal T, I found it to be more durable than the Whip. It's relatively easy with a 3D printed part to mount the Immortal T. Just like one little 3D printed part hangs off the back and the Immortal T is there. Alternative with the Whip is that you're doing some stuff with zip ties. The Whip can be pretty durable as well. But the other thing is that the Immortal T, you set the quad flat, like in a backpack or something, nothing is sticking up. With the Whip antenna, you usually have them sticking out the sides or sticking up. They can more easily get in the prop. I've just kind of moved over that direction. I used to think the Immortal T was worse in terms of durability, because once the Immortal T gets chopped, it unravels and then it's just ruined. But if you solder the tips, it doesn't happen, and it's pretty good. John Solo in the Discord says, when using individual ESCs, do all four need to be the same, or can you mix and match? As long as the amp rating of all of them is high enough, you're probably safe to mix and match. Although I personally, just my OCD doesn't let me mix them. I don't like to mix them like that. Yeah, Ghost Branch wants to know why the Diatone Mamba F722 stack isn't on my shopping list. Well, I mean, maybe it should be. There's lots of... I'm always looking for new products. $100. Got Bluetooth built in. 60 amp ESC. I don't know, maybe it should be on my list. Sometimes things fly under my radar and I just miss them. So, Pez FPV, thanks for $1 in the super chat. Callie C, thanks for $10 in the super chat. Why do you think Kebab said the way to get low noise is to have large props and low weight? Larger props spin at a lower RPM. Therefore, they make less noise. And then low weight, I guess, means that the props can spin slower. Yeah, I mean, you can just observe that larger props tend to be quieter. To a point, I mean... Larger props, I'll say this. Larger props make lower frequency noise that is often less annoying to people. In terms of pure decibels, like a great big octocopter, heavy lift octocopter, it's going to be going... And it's not going to bother your ears. It may objectively be louder than like a tiny whoop going... But between the two, I know which one I'd rather hear, right? Now, a tiny whoop isn't that loud. If you think about the loudness of props, you've got tiny whoops, which are very high-pitched but not too loud. And then you come around to like 3 inches, 5 inches, and somewhere around 3 to 5 inches is like the worst possible. It's loud, it's high-pitched, it's screechy, it's annoying. We like it because we're weird that way, but... And then as you get up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches, the frequency gets lower and it starts to be less annoying. The gist, Callie, you'd have to ask Kebab exactly what he meant, but in general, larger props spin at a lower RPM for the same amount of thrust. Therefore, lower RPM means less energy, means less noise. Kyle Daniels, thanks for $2. I don't know what your super chat means, but I appreciate your $2. FPV Noob, did I miss you, man? Where did I did miss you. I'm so sorry about that, FPV Noob. I'm about to order Crossfire. Would you recommend micro, light, or long range? FPV Noob, I recommend the Crossfire Micro Light, the Crossfire Micro Module V2. The Crossfire Micro Module V2, TBS has as much as said that they intend to get it up to 1 watt if the technology, if they can. They haven't done it yet because I think they want to make sure they're not going to just smoke everybody's radio, but they have said they want parity with FreeSky R9, and FreeSky R9 does 1 watt on the micro module. So Trappy said on the TBS couch, he said something like, I don't think people are picking up what we're laying down here. He was like, figure it out, guys. We're going to 1 watt. He didn't say those words. So I think the Crossfire Micro V2, if they release it, that gets it up to 1 watt. It's just like, that's the... I wonder if it's just going to put their full-size module... I wonder how many people are buying the full-size Crossfire module anyway. So... Cinewhoops are super loud, 661 FPV. It has to have something to do with the props, with the ducts, right? It just makes them super loud. Jimmy Fleming wants to know, what's the next flight controller after F7? It's H7 is the next processor up. There are some H7 flight controllers out there already. The SP Racing H7 is one of the first. And one of the nice things about the H7 it has the ability to process video and audio, which means that the H7 chips can do OSD on board without a separate OSD chip, including a graphical OSD. So that's in the pipeline. Andy Lamani wants to know, do we need to add washers on Zing motors that come with lock nuts? The prop tends to shake when I run the motors. You didn't tighten down the lock nut far enough, Andy. No, you don't need a washer. Cool Hands 21 wants to know, how long do my batteries last? Do you replace them every 6 months or a year? What makes you realize you have to replace your batteries? Cool Hands, I don't know. I would love to look at when I bought this last batch of batteries. I'm going to try for just a minute to look at my Gmail and figure out when I bought this last batch of batteries. Because I bought like 15 4S batteries some time back. That's not it. Okay, how about order confirmed? I'm not going to show you guys my email while I search for this, though, so you just have to sit for a minute. But I am really curious of how long ago that was. I'm going through my orders. Just give me a few more minutes. Not minutes. A few more seconds to try and dig back through these orders and see if I can figure it out. Just looking at all the things I've ordered from Race Day Quads. Well, there I ordered 3 6S batteries in April 30th, but that doesn't count. I didn't fly those a lot. There's some 6S batteries for testing. I'm close. We're close. I've almost got there. I know we're close. I can feel it. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Come on. Come on. No. Come on. Come on. Ah. This has got to be such an interesting live stream for you. Just sitting there watching me click and moan. We're back. I'll tell you what, we're back through September 2018, and I haven't found it yet. That might tell you something. How have I not found it yet? Nope. Surely I ordered these. 1500 4S times 3. Well, 1300 4S times 2. That's for battery testing. I don't know. At least a year. Okay. At least, I would say at least a year for these particular packs. How do you know when your pack... Well, that was a complete waste of time. I apologize. I was hoping to find it. How do you know when the packs are done? If they sag a lot and your flight time has gone down, that's how you know. The truth is, if you have accurate current monitoring, the real way to know your packs have degraded is by looking at the milliamp hours you get out of each flight. Let's say you buy a brand new 1500 milliamp hour pack, you charge it up, you fly it down to 3.5 volts, and you get 1400 milliamp hours out of it, 1450 milliamp hours out of it. As the pack gets older, that number is going to go down. So later, you may be only getting 1250 milliamp hours out of it, and you start to know that it's time to retire it. Excuse me, guys. Duncan Williams wants to know, what's the difference in latency between analog video and analog goggles and DJI goggles with an analog receiver over AV input? I can tell you, when I go back and forth between DJI and analog goggles, DJI with an analog module, so I'm flying an analog quad both times. When I go back and forth, I do notice a small increase in latency. It's one of those things. What I've noticed with latency is when latency goes down, you hardly notice it. When latency goes up, you're like, what is happening here? So when I go from analog to DJI, if for some reason I do that, I don't mean DJI digital. I mean DJI goggles with an analog module. I can feel the additional latency. It takes me a couple of packs to adjust. I saw somebody in the chat claim that Albert Kim measured the DJI latency at about 30 milliseconds, whereas Fat Shark goggles are closer to 10 milliseconds. That seems plausible to me. That seems plausible to me. So it's a little more. Like, enough people are flying analog on DJI that I don't think I would call it unflyable. Jimmy Fleming, thanks for $1. Johnny DRC, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Who else have I missed? FPV Noob, I got you, FPV Noob. Nico Espana, thank you for 25 Chilean pesos. Just want to say thank you. The majority of my questions are answered in your YouTube channel. Thank you, Nico Espana. Sorry for missing your chat for so long. MK has an interesting question. Why did APC props miss the boat? Why aren't APC props more popular in FPV? I remember back when I was getting into quads, nobody flew APC props. In fact, there were some times when finding reverse props wasn't even possible in the size that you want. APC was very, very focused on airplane props. Quadcopters were a very small market, and mini quads were an even smaller market than that. Quadcopter props are designed differently than airplane props. Airplane props are generally assumed to be operating within a relatively narrow RPM range. You're going to bring the motor up to cruise and you're going to leave it there, except for like when you're landing. But quadcopter props regularly go all the way to idle and all the way to max. And that's why when you look at quadcopter props, they'll have like a really big scoop near the hub to try and get as much thrust as you can at low RPM. APC just didn't seem to move towards that market, and it left the door open for companies like Gemfan, HQ, King Kong were some big ones, although I'm not sure that anybody uses them anymore, Dalprop, all these companies that we know about to make quadcopter and FPV mini quad specific props. To this day, APC doesn't really make a lot of quadcopter props, although some of their airplane props are pretty good for high-speed runs with quadcopters. It just never seemed interested. I think maybe it was that the money wasn't there. Mini quad props needed to be dirt cheap because we broke them all the time, and they were making more expensive high-quality props, and they just didn't fit with the way they develop, I think. That's just my guess. Toxic FPV says, I'm loving Velocidrone, but it barely runs on my dinosaur of a computer. Is liftoff better for low-end PCs? I don't know if I would say that. Liftoff is not like hugely resource intensive. Is it more or less than Velocidrone? I'd have to look at the specs. I wouldn't assume it was going to be much better, though. Rowan Naden says FPV Air 2 has good physics and runs well on a slow computer. Worth looking at. King of Losings, thank you for $5, 5 Canadian dollars. What would be your part list for a lightweight freestyle build? How many grams would you try and target? That's a great question, King of Losing, because I am trying to answer that question right now. My next ultimate freestyle build, which I am working on, it's going to have the JBF7 flight controller. It's going to have JB motors. I just worked with GemFan well, I shouldn't say develop. I just asked GemFan if I could please put my name on their 51477 props. I like their 51477 props a lot. I thought they were a good fit with my motor. And I said, can you make a purple and a yellow one that matches the color of my motor? And they said, sure. So 51477 props. JB Phoenix 2 camera, easy peasy. What does that leave? It leaves the frame and the video transmitter. Wow. And I haven't settled on the frame. In the past, I have built heavy builds. A typical freestyle build for me would be like 600 grams. More than that. 625, 635 without a GoPro. And then you put a GoPro on and now you're up around 700, 750. And I realized that every time I flew a race quad, they flew great and they were lightweight. And I was like, I'm going to try and build a more lightweight quad the next time I do it. The FPV Cycle Glide is one I'm looking at, and I'm open to looking at other ones. It's tough to find one that is lightweight but still sort of durable. It's a tough line. Like, I feel like, if you look at heavier frames for freestyle, they come in around 120 to 140 grams. And then the lightweight freestyle frames come in around 110 grams, which isn't that much lighter. What are you going to do? Like, you're giving up a lot, but 20 grams is 20 grams. And then racing frames come in between maybe 80 and 100 grams or even lighter, but you just wouldn't want one of those for freestyle. So I don't know. FPV, the Glide I'm looking at, other lightweight frames I'm open to. One of the other things that I'm concerned about is that there are some niche frames out there, very small manufacturers, and they go, oh, hey, will you consider our frame? And I'm like, man, if I put this in my build and then 500 people try and buy it, are you going to be able to supply it? Which it sucks that I have to think of that way, but I do. I want you to be able to buy it and get it if you want it. I don't want it to be out of stock. So it's too bad. But we'll see. T Jenga, the JBF7 will not have a barometer because if I had asked for it to have a barometer, it would have a barometer. But I just wasn't, like, I was thinking enough about iNav to say, can it have I2C pads? Yeah, we put those on there. I didn't think about barometer, and the I2C pads are actually shared with UART3, which I believe iNav does not allow. So there, no iNav for this flight controller at this time, and no barometer. Mark Philly 80, thank you for $5 in the super chat. What do you think of the TBS Graphene 1300 milliamp hour 4S? I mean, when that pack first came out, a lot of people were talking about how long of a flight time they were getting off of it. I would have to wait. The TBS, sorry, that's the Hobby King Graphene that I'm thinking of. I don't know anything about the TBS 1300 Graphene. Hobby King Graphene was the first graphene battery that came out, and it was pretty. A lot of people were very excited about it, saying it'd give it great flight times. I'm not seeing this pack. Where's this pack? 75C doesn't impress me much. TBS Graphene 1300 4S 75C. I mean, 75C is about the bare minimum, and it's $25. I'm not sure why you would pay $26 for a 75C battery. That's my initial thought. Like, let's just look. CNHL Black. Is Black the good ones? I don't know. I think Black's the good ones, right? Where's the Racing Series? Oh, that's even better, right? Now I'm going with Black. So now, where's like Where's like 4S? There's the Mini Star. 70C for 20 bucks, 850 milliamp hours. There's the Black Series. 1100 5S, 4S, 1100 4S, 1300 4S 100C. There you go. Okay, so 1300 4S 100C, 15 bucks, 17 bucks. Orange is higher C than black, says 507. I can never keep it straight, my friends. The black ones are square, the white ones are longer. Okay. My point is this, let's not spend too long poking around on the website, but my point is, feels like 75C for a 1300 4S 75C for 26 bucks. That surprises me. I mean, I think I'm surprised. I think you could do better. So, White Series is the highest C. Here's FPV. Anyway. Like, what is making it so expensive? You look at 75C batteries, and they are usually a very budget line. You look at 90 to 100C batteries, and they're usually more expensive. Here is a 70C. Come on. I mean, this is no slouch. This is a good battery. It may not be like their best performing battery, but these white ones, these G Plus line, they're not bad batteries. Why can I not search based on 4S? Can I see? Oh, can I not? Oh, there it is. There it is. Hallelujah. 1300. Discharge rate, battery cells. 4S. Oh, my God. Come on. 4S. Give me a break. Let's do it. Let's do it. Filter. No? Okay, I can't filter. Hit enter. What do I do? Okay. So 1300 3S. Damn it. I said 4S. What's wrong with you? Oh, okay. That's my bad. Sorry, website. That's my bad. That's on me. 1300 4S 100C 15 bucks. Boom. And like, don't think that like, oh yes, but this is a very, very good battery. This is a graphene battery. It's got graphene, and that means it's going to be able to graphenate a lot more than others. No, graphene is a thing. Graphene batteries may be more resistant to discharge and have less sag, and I don't know. But I would probably buy like 2 of these instead. That's just me. Cool. I'm sure that now I'll be told that there's something really important about this battery that I'm missing. So. Jared, stop spamming the chat, man. Don't spam the chat, Jared. Don't dislike my videos because Jared's spamming the chat, first of all. It's not my fault. All right. Nick Marino, thank you for $5 in the super chat. If you were a hobbyist, could you see DJI with British BDI DigiAdapter as your daily driver? Or would you still want Fat Shark as well? I mean, Nick Marino, I think that for a lot of people, DJI plus DigiAdapter is going to be the right choice. I think if you're serious about analog, like racing or proximity freestyle, I think that latency is going to make a difference for you. But I think that most people who get DJI are going to want to, they're not going to want to fly analog very much at all. That's just what I've observed. So I think that DJI with analog for spectating is where most people are going to be. I feel very fortunate as, that I'm in a position where I can fly with Orca or Fat Shark if I fly analog, where I can fly with DJI if I fly digital, and I don't have to decide. I seldom fly analog on DJI, and the times when I have done it, I've been like, oh, I can really notice. I mean, it's there. It's not big. It's not like night and day, but it's there. And I have to really kind of readjust myself. So if I was a hobbyist, though, there's no way I would spend $600 on DJI and then spend $500 more on a set of analog goggles. It just doesn't make sense. Dylan Walton, thank you for $5. I have an F3 and it seems to be out. Is F4 still good for a few years, or should I just switch to F7? Yeah, F7 is definitely more future-proof, and but it's more expensive too. What about those AI-based PID controllers or not PID controllers? Am I right? Yeah, the F7s will be useful. F7 will be more future-proof, that's for sure. Do you need a ham radio for FPV? Asks Matthew Iosa. You're supposed to have a ham license in the United States to use 5 gigahertz video. There is no way to use 5 gigahertz video without a ham license, despite what people will tell you. Oh, but it's under 25 milliwatts. That's not what the rules say. It doesn't matter. It's under 25 milliwatts. If it's not Part 15 certified, then you need a ham license. None of the video transmitters are Part 15 certified. Jesus Christ, Captain Quad. What even makes you think that that comment's going to get through? Come on, man. Give me a break. Oh, does DJI need a ham license? DJI is Part 15 certified. You do not need a ham license. However, only like 3 of the channels are Part 15 certified. The other 3 are not. I don't remember which 3 it is, so oops. Jefte Santiago, do you need to donate some money to know the answer to your question? No. Listen. Listen carefully. Number 1, Jefte, I answered your question. Maybe you asked a second question. You are one of the few people, statistically speaking, whose question I did answer. So maybe you missed it or whatever. No one needs to donate money to know the answer to their question. If I don't answer your question on the live stream, what should they do, chat? The live stream, you can only answer so many questions. There are hundreds of questions scrolling by. I'm waiting for the chat to catch up. There are hundreds of questions scrolling by. I'm only going to be able to answer some of them. If you want me to answer the question on the live stream, you either just hope that you're lucky or you leave a couple bucks in the super chat. But if I don't get to you in the live stream, email me or DM me, and I will DM on Facebook. I will answer any question you want, and I will not charge you a dime. So, Show and Tell Pro, do you have a video out on setting up Betaflight 4.2 for newbies? I mean, Show and Tell Pro, my Get FPV Xylo budget build uses Betaflight 4.2 and takes you through the whole setup. The exact steps will be different depending on your quad, but that's always going to be true. So you can watch that and get some ideas. Yeah. Insane DIY says he's not lucky. Well, I may not have answered your question, but I did catch that message. Yeah. Let's see here. Wicked 6 FPV, thank you. I do my best to reply to my patrons first, but I do my best to reply to every question. Every question on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, the direct messages to my Facebook page, both of my email addresses, my Discord DMs, my Patreon messages, and then sometimes I get to Instagram messages, but Instagram messaging is kind of a shit show. And then I never look at Reddit chat. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Guess what? Now that I'm done whining about answering questions, I just hate it when people, I'm sorry, I'm triggered. That's my bad. Santiago, I don't want you to feel like I'm mad at you. I hate it when people accuse me of only answering questions. Oh, so I have to pay to get an answer? Well, first of all, I mean, what if you did? But second of all, no, I have never done that. I've never done that. I help everybody for free. It's my deal. It's my thing. And I hate to think that people out there might think that that was true. So, it is 9:59 p.m. and I'm about to finish up for the night. I will be back live streaming next Sunday at 1 p.m. In the meantime, Aaron Ciotti is about to start streaming. He's going to be streaming. He is in the chat right now. Aaron, what are you going to be doing tonight? And post a link to your stream, because I'm getting out of here. And some of these fine people might want to keep watching you streaming happen. Ciotti's doing a giveaway, 2.5-inch build. So check out Ciati's stream. He's posting the link. And in the meantime, whoa, no, don't leave another super chat. Coelho FPV, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Toxic FPV, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Cyclabo, thanks for $5. I can't leave till I read all the super chats. Get F722 and F722 Mini free with a review. And oh, stop it! Oh my God, don't be doing that. Don't be plugging other people's promotions. Thank you for $2, Toxic FPV. Hercules Notice, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Decided to do my first build as a 3-inch. iFlight IH3V3 frame, blah, 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 blah. Is it a good first build? Ask Ciati. Give him the $5 super chat, Hercules. Ciati, iFlight IH3V3 frame, HDLRC FD445 stack, Zing 140830. That seems okay to me. Seems pretty good. It all seems okay to me, but except I'm not a big fan of HDLRC electronics, though. I would steer you away from that, but other than that. Okay, guys, that's it. Thank you so much. Happy flying, everybody. Go check out Ciati's stream, and I will see you throughout the week on the internet, posting awesome videos, and I'll see you next Sunday for another live stream. Good night, everybody.